Welcome to Exploring the Mystical Side of Life with your host, Michelle Aubin and Linda Lang.
Welcome to the show today. I am Michelle Aubin. I'm a teacher of self-healing for people that are struggling with chronic illnesses. And Linda, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, Michelle. Hi, everyone. Linda Lang here. I am a teacher, a healer, a guide, helping you step out of your old patterns and beliefs, let go of unresolved emotional issues, and letting your true spirit just shine through.
Oh, that's beautiful. Letting your true spirit shine through. I love that. So today we thought we would dive into the topic of raising your vibration. And in a previous episode, we were talking about resonance and vibrational resonance and what that means and how to recognize when you're in resonance or out of resonance with different areas of life. And this topic just seemed to be a nice second step to that idea of, if something's not going right in my life and I don't like what's showing up, and I feel like I need to change it by raising my vibration so I can attract a higher vibration reality, higher vibration work experiences, higher vibration friendships, whatever it might be. How do I do that if I feel stuck? So when we want to change our patterns, what do we do?
Well, there's all kinds of things we can do. And for me, the trick I use, if we want to call it that, it's so easy and it's so delicious. I just stop. I just completely stop. And I'll just be still and I'll really just connect in with my own spirit, my own heart, my own energy. And I'll just sit in that delicious being that lives in this body, and things just automatically shift. The monkey mind stops, the repetitive judgments, or for me, I've been meditating for a long time, so it's easy, but there are lots of ways if you haven't been meditating that you can change also.
Well, I have a whole list of things people can do to raise their vibration, but meditation, what you're talking about going within, is one of the most powerful. But for people that aren't used to it, that can feel like a big step. I just want to acknowledge that for people because I've heard a lot of people say to me, I don't meditate because ... or I feel like I should, but I don't know how. And once you get to that place of knowing how easy it can be, it's a great go-to. You could be in traffic and doing it. You could be in the store. So maybe for people who aren't used to it, you may need to spend a little bit of time practicing what that feels like, or getting help from a meditation teacher, or like I do, I go on YouTube a lot and I'll just, search for an enjoyable meditation, and that can really do wonders.
So even just listening to music that lifts your spirits, you don't even have to sit and kind of meditate. There's a lot of external tools as well, but once you do get to that place where you can kind of go within, it's fast and easy. So before
we go to before that, so the reason music works ties back to this idea of resonance. If you're listening to a beautiful piece of music, our brain waves will match that piece of music. And that's, I love knowing that because it's really interesting to think that I'm tuning into a piece of music. So there's certain types of music that will help you get there. And, think of it that way, that not any kind of music will do it. So, I want to put that out there to people. But if you look for something that has theta brainwaves or delta brainwaves, those are going to relax your brainwaves. There's a certain frequency in the music that will actually affect your brainwave state and bring you to that calm place.
I'd like to maybe just throw in there as well that same idea that the vibration of music has different purposes. So when I want to clean my house really quickly and enjoy it, I'll put on something, a little more lively and something I can dance and sing to while I'm cleaning. And that's not the same music I would want to sit and be still with.
Right, and actually a great point, because you're cleaning your house and you've raised your vibration in a different way, right? So one piece of music is going to get you to a calm, meditative state. Another piece of music is going to get you to a higher vibration, energetic state. So they're both useful. Yeah,
Yeah, just if it feels good,
if it
right?
feels good.
If it feels good listening to it, you've already gone up a notch.
Yeah. But now you get back to what you were going to say when I went to that piece about brainwaves. You were going to talk about before the meditating.
Before you're at that place where you can flip that switch really quickly by connecting, with your spirit, essentially. Another one of the tricks I'll use is a saltwater bath, or a bath with essential oils, or just smelling essential oils can lift your spirit. Like the citrus fruit oils will automatically change your emotional state more optimistic
Great
and
tip.
more. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so easy. Bergamot oil or orange especially, they're like happy oils. Just a little smell of that can be enough. But if you're going through a really difficult time, I hold the highest regard for a saltwater bath.
Yes. Saltwater bath. So these are very concrete things people can do. I want to add to the olfactory idea, and flowers. Going out into a garden or bringing flowers into your environment is something visually that will raise your vibration, but also in an olfactory way. And if you can't get access to flowers, put pictures of flowers on your wall. That's just a trigger. We can surround ourselves with triggers that help bring us to this better place, higher
Oh,
higher feeling place.
there's nothing like, a walk in the forest or a beautiful park or down by a river, by water. There's a lot of negative ions out in nature, a lot of energy, all those plants and the sunshine. They have energy that we can actually absorb, and it can go a long way to lifting our spirits by spending time in nature.
Looking at pictures of the forest will also help improve things even on a physical level. They've done studies of this. So that's interesting too, is like looking at pictures of the forest.
I think that is really interesting. I suspect what happens is the unconscious mind is triggered by past experiences and brings up that energy reaction of being more calm and more peaceful
Yeah, being in
and
that place. So the other things that I've done when I was in a difficult time, there's a few I'm just going to list off that are very accessible to people. And before I do that, I want to go to the idea that was introduced to me by Abraham Hicks. And anybody who does a search on Abraham Hicks, you'll get a lot of information on how to raise your vibration. But in one of their books, they had a concept that there's a spectrum of emotion. And I found this to be very helpful. So one of the most difficult emotions, or kind of lowest vibrating, is depression and hopelessness. And then at the top of the scale is joy. Even above happiness is this joy feeling. And to expect someone to go from depression or hopelessness to joy is too much of a big leap. So don't put pressure on yourself if you're having a difficult time. The idea is feeling even slightly better is an improvement, and that's a good enough goal. And when I was going through a difficult time, I used this idea a lot, that I could just focus on feeling slightly better in this moment. And that might mean, for instance, and their teaching around this is really insightful. If you have a friend that, let's say, is feeling anger and expressing anger, that might be a better feeling state for them than hopelessness, right? So anger in comparison to hopelessness is an increased vibrational state. And it may not be where you want to live forever, right? You don't necessarily want to stay there forever, but that can be like one rung on the ladder on the way to feeling even better. So we don't judge all of them, but it's helpful to kind of know there's like a ladder of emotion. And when I was feeling really stuck, I would use that concept and just ask myself, what can I do in this moment to feel slightly better? Or how can I feel slightly better in this moment? So I'm not framing it for the rest of my life, but feeling like I can make a small step in this moment. That's all I need to focus on. So sometimes for me in that moment, I'm just going to throw out a few things that I would do that would help. Music is one of them, we already mentioned. Spending time with animals or children, for me, was very helpful. And if I couldn't physically be with, real live animals or children, and this is kind of funny, but it helped, I would look at funny animal videos or funny children videos. They are medicine. When I was in that really difficult space, it felt too much for me to go and maybe make a piece of artwork or engage in some of those activities that brought me joy in the past. So there might be different activities depending on where you are in the emotional ladder that are helpful. When I'm feeling a little better, if I wanted to bump up the vibration, then I can manage to muster the energy to go do something creative or to socialize with people that I enjoyed time with. But when I was in that, more hopeless state, it might just be all I could muster was watching a happy video or a comedy.
Oh God, comedies are great for
Yeah.
that. If we can somehow do a kind of pattern interrupt and stop that thinking, and music, comedies, movies, they're all fantastic ways to just keep our mind busy with something else than the train of thought we've been thinking.
It's like a distraction technique if you realize you're having a pattern of more negative thought pattern to just distract yourself from it.
Do you have any tips for people going through really, really intense emotion? Like hopelessness and depression is it's a flat line. There's not a lot of movement to those emotions. Whereas if they're in the midst of having a lot of anxiety or stress or anger, I know there's something that I always advise my clients to use when they're in that place, and that's the power of the breath. Breathing really deeply through your diaphragm can actually help you process your emotions.
When you're more agitated or more energetic, but you're still frustrated, so your energy, you're experiencing a lot of energy flowing through you, but it's not the kind of energy you want to stay within, using that energy to bring you to another place. And so you're talking about breath. So are you talking about a specific deep breathing activity?
In my Huna training, we have a breath called the Ha breath, so that's what I use. But as long as you're breathing with the whole diaphragm, it would process your intense emotion. They've actually done a lot of research on your breath and the power of it. And the people who tend to have a lot of anxiety are often very shallow breathers. And when you're in that kind of intense emotional state, most people do breathe very shallow. So in the Huna training, we do the Ha breath. We breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. The exhale is twice as long as the inhale. And there's a slight sound, a little sigh that goes with it to kind of release. And it's really very interesting because it actually does diffuse the emotions and creates more centeredness and more presence within you. So it is very powerful breath. I think most ancient traditions have breathing techniques. I know yoga does and Qigong. Our ancient wisdom keepers were very aware of the power of the breath. So
yeah. And now do you find when clients use that technique, they emerge out of anxiety into what kind of state? A more peaceful state?
just really more centered and more present. And so that when they're in that state, they have more brain balance. They can make better choices than when they're off on an emotional tangent.
Right.
We'll do that in a group sometimes, and there's a clear shift in the energy of the room that's palpable. People
Yeah.
can feel it.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful process. We like to teach people, right, that
Yeah.
everything they need is within them, and the power of your breath is definitely one of those things that is a very powerful tool for you.
Now, I've only used the power of the breath in terms of a mindfulness technique of just returning my thoughts to my breath. And so I've never done this more kind of breath focused work, but I hear great things from people that do. So I know there's a lot of power in that. For me too, when I'm feeling maybe more agitated, what I like to do to raise my vibration is to go dancing or do something physically joyous, even if I'm not feeling joyous, but to work with that physical energy or to go for a walk or go swimming.
If you have a lot of energy and it's not necessarily comfortable energy, there's nothing wrong with hitting the gym or going for a run and just using all that energy for a physical outlet. And then you'll find when you're tired, when you've spent your energy on exercise, you'll find when you stop, you have shifted.
Yeah.
There's so many tools that we can use to kind of shift things internally.
I'm not a big one though for going on the treadmill. Like I know that can be great for people. For some reason, the way I'm built, I just get so bored. But if I'm in a swing dance class and they're teaching me some steps and I'm practicing with a partner, it does a few things. It distracts me from my thoughts, let's say, and then it just becomes fun. It becomes like its own playful things. So I know not everybody likes to do dance classes, but for me, teaching me some footwork will do it. It just is enough challenge to my brain to distract me and feel like there's a puzzle there and my body's engaged, but then I end up laughing. And so for me, that's a way to get to even that higher place of laughing, giggling, and if I have enough energy, if I'm in a good place to go to a class to begin with, because to be truthful, when I was hopeless and depressed, I would never consider that. But when I'm in that other place, I'm feeling better and I want to get to the joy. That's one of the ways to get to the joy for me.
I just love how you said that, Michelle, because really the bottom line is to follow your bliss, right? Do what feels good in the moment. Runners have runner's high. They wouldn't trade running for the world. Swimmers, they just like magnetically attracted to the water.
Yep.
Dancers, singers, it doesn't really matter. I like the idea of singing even if you can't sing, because you are expressing so much energy out of your throat
Yeah.
chakra when you're singing. And I don't care if you're in the car or you're walking down the street, whatever makes you feel good. And we are all different, so different tools will work for different people.
This is a great idea. This is the idea of singing and singing in the car. And I want to share an experience I had with a friend of mine recently. This was a trip that it was an errand. It was somebody forgot something and they had to drive to another house to get something they forgot. And it was like an hour away. And I said I would go with them to keep them company, my good friend. We did a segment intention. And that is something that the Abraham teachings tell us we can do to help us basically pre-pave an experience. And what we did before we got in the car, we just kind of held hands and we said, all right, we're going to have the kind of experience on this trip that is fun, safe, joyous, and we just kind of basically put in everything in there that we wanted to experience. So anyway, we get in the car, we get on the highway, and we start playing music from the iPod, and we start singing it with each other. The music just built on itself. And the next thing you know, we're like coming back into town. We're car dancing, disco songs, funk songs, top of our lungs. And we were so giddy. This was a 2-hour trip, round trip. By the time we got back, we were giddy, laughing on the sidewalk, all the endorphins in our head. And we both, this was not that long ago, but we both kind of talk about this, my friend and I, so fondly. And knowing that that's possible to get there, even in a situation that could have felt like a drag. No, we created this together and built on the energy. And so anything could be like that. Like you talk about housework and errands. And like I'm always now at the point asking myself, how can I make this more joyous? This ordinary thing I'm doing, how can I have more fun doing this?
You're putting that intent out to the universe and an answer will come back.
Yeah.
Put the intent out to have more fun and to spend time with people that kind of help you raise your vibration.
The ideal situation is if you can have a friend who's playful like my friend is. And the truth is not everybody's in that place in our lives because not everybody has that understanding of vibrational reality. So it isn't going to happen with everybody, but if you find that connection or even explore it with people.
The truth of the matter is that most people focus on what they don't want instead of what they want. And focusing more on what you don't want does not bring you what you want. It just feeds the energy of what you don't want.
Instead of focusing on what we don't want, use our imagination to create what we want in our mind. And that's where all creation happens.
Even if what we're seeing is what we don't want.
Yes. It only brings us more of what we don't want.
Exactly. So for all the listeners that are really struggling, they might need some help. I would really recommend that they find someone to help them shift it. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be difficult. It can be if you're not willing to really move through whatever it is and release whatever you need to go. But there are tons of healers. I mean, I do that work. You do that work.
Yep.
There are many other healers out there that help you to shift what's inside so that you can vibrate at a higher rate and be happier, live a life that's abundant with joy and happiness and health and prosperity. It's not impossible for you.
It can happen quickly.
It can. It absolutely can if you allow it to, if you're willing.
Looking at what's happening in our life in front of our eyes as a representation of our past vibration, not evidence of our future vibration. So that's the trick. So you go to that closet and you're like, I hate all my clothes. Take that as a good sign. Say, oh, I must have shifted something and now I want other clothes or whatever it might be, a car or a relationship. And you go, oh, this means I have upgraded my energy and I'm ready for something else. So that's the adventure. Here's to everyone raising our vibrations together.
It's delicious. And the more of us that can raise our vibration, I mean, we do affect it's that whole butterfly effect.
And the more all of us are feeling the raised vibration, the more we all get to play together. That's what I'm looking forward to, is more of us all joining each other in a playful kind of vortex of energy on the planet together.
Awesome. Let's create it.
Yes. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And we look forward to meeting with you next time. Bye for now.